Good morning. Today we're going to present a 5-year business plan for Kaiser. Our group is formed by Ariel Shah, Alejandra Chavez, Xinjun Wang, and myself, Luis Carrera. The agenda for today is the executive summary, the context, then we're going to see the strategy that we are proposing, the timeline for that strategy, the main challenges associated with that strategy, and the next steps that we recommend. The healthcare insurance business is highly competitive. Obtaining new customers is very difficult and very expensive. So we believe as a team that Kaiser should create a program that could allow its customers to extend their business with Kaiser beyond the normal terms of the contract. We have identified one particular segment that we believe it will allow Kaiser to retain over 350,000 customers annually, which will contribute significantly to its bottom line. Let's analyze some key statistics about Kaiser as a context. Kaiser has close to 12 million members. It's important to mention that 73% of them are in California. Kaiser achieved close to $65 billion in annual operating revenue in 2016, as well as close to $2 billion in net income. As of now, Kaiser has more than 208,000 employees and more than 21,000 physicians. As I mentioned before, the healthcare insurance business is highly competitive. Obtaining new customers is very expensive. Actually, the health insurance has one of the highest cost per click, ranging from $5 to $13, and companies such as United Healthcare are spending more than $6 million in half a year. So here's where we realized that it was important for Kaiser to identify opportunities to retain customers more than obtain new customers. Developing programs that will allow current customers to extend their business with Kaiser beyond the normal terms looks like a great opportunity for Kaiser, especially because Kaiser is doing great in terms of customer loyalty. If we compare the Net Promoter Score, Kaiser is outperforming the industry average. Next, we're going to talk about the implementation strategy and timeline. So we recommend that Kaiser develop a program that will allow millennials to continue with their health insurance plan regardless of whether they change jobs. The aim of this program is to retain the segment as customers. And why millennials? Well, millennials are young and health-conscious consumers. They represent the largest generation in the US labor force. Also, millennials do more job hopping than any other generation. So if we don't develop a program for them, we're gonna lose these valuable customers. The customer lifetime value for this segment is high, higher than other generations. Millennials are low-risk clients as they are young and health-conscious. So developing a strategy to retain these customers should be a priority for Kaiser. Let's see into more details why these customers represent low-risk clients. As we said, they are the largest generation in the US labor force. More than 1 in 3 American workers today are millennials. Also, they are mindful eating and health conscious. They are eating smarter and smoking less than previous generations. They are using online information to find the healthiest way to consume food. Also, they are sports enthusiasts. Many of them exercise constantly, and they are using apps to track their training data.
This program has something for everyone. There's a way to engage with employees, employers, and Kaiser itself. From the employee standpoint, low-risk millennial employees will be able to continue with their health insurance plans, even if they transition to a new job, and keep that health insurance that they love, making their lives easier. Employers are going to get a special discount for these select employees, since they're lower risk customers with a higher customer lifetime value to Kaiser itself. And lastly, Kaiser will be able to retain up to over 350,000 high-value customers each year, significantly contributing to the bottom line. Now, as we said, annually, Kaiser could retain up to over 350,000 customers who each have a high customer lifetime value with this strategy. But how did we get to that number? Well, we backed into it from the total number of members that Kaiser has currently, 11.9 million. Based on industry averages for annual churn, around 18%, that means 2.14 million customers are leaving Kaiser annually. And another important number to note here is that 50% of churn tends to be due to corporate decision-making to move to another plan. So we're left with 1.07 million folks who could choose to stay or leave on their own annually. And seeking to get an approximation for this low-risk millennial group, we looked at the proportion of millennials who are in the workforce, which is about 33%, and that brings the group of low-risk millennial customers who might leave on their own down to 360,000 annually. All right, next we want to talk through the timeline for this project. The first step is definitely looking to identify the grouping characteristics for this low-risk millennial group. And then next doing analysis to determine the pricing for the initial product based on risk minimalization. After that, we're going to work with employers, identifying key employers that we can obtain agreement from to work in the pilot period. And that whole process will take about a year. Next, we're going to launch into a year pilot where we allow people to enroll in the extended coverage. After that, we're going to go into the evaluation phase where we collect data on individuals who stayed as a part of this program and compare savings and pricing, also collecting feedback from the employers. And then next, looking to expansion, identifying subsequent employers and really honing the grouping characteristics and the pricing strategy. All right, next we're going to look at challenges and key considerations. There are four main challenges associated with this business idea. The first is employer partnerships. Given that employers may be working with more than one insurance company, they may be afraid. We'll need to offer dynamic cost savings and build partnerships. The next challenge is future cost projection. It may be difficult to determine the qualified group and the price point. We'll need to leverage our historical data and utilize health indicators. Next, competition and policy. There's a first mover disadvantage in that we're innovating on the model that others can copy. So we'll need to retain loyal customers and prepare for new federal legislation. And lastly, long-term scalability could be challenging given that we currently operate mostly in California. We'll need to expand within California and then think carefully about moving beyond. All right, now we want to talk about immediate next steps. First, you'll need to collect a project team representative of cross-functional stakeholders. Next, you'll want to collect key information on both the millennial customer group and potential employer partners. Third is incentive alignment, figuring out what ways we can align incentives for both the millennial customer and employer partners. Fourth is product design, pulling together ideas around the group and the pricing and plan options. And lastly, performance metrics, identifying the key metrics that we want to measure across time to see if this program is successful. With that, I want to thank you for listening to the presentation and wish you a restful holiday. And lastly, here are some references if you should have interest.